So it's no secret that the Chicago Bears need a quarterback. And in the early stages of this offseason, we've been linked with just about every single quarterback in the NFL, whether they're available or not. We've been linked to veteran quarterbacks. We've been linked to guys like Deshaun Watson and some of the biggest, big name free agents out there. We've been linked to young quarterbacks, and we've been linked recently with a lot of sort of reclamation projects. A lot of quarterbacks that have kind of overstayed their welcome, high draft picks that haven't worked out, and clearly have a lot of talent, but haven't shown that at an NFL level consistently. Obviously, before Carson Wentz officially landed in Indianapolis, which I'm glad we didn't get him, we were linked to Carson Wentz a lot. More recently, we've been linked a lot with guys like Sam Darnold, guys like Marcus Mariota, and I just want to put this clearly. The short answer, should the Bears go after a reclamation project like this? Fuck no. And that's the short answer. When you're looking at the history of the NFL and reclamation projects, right? So these quarterbacks that haven't worked out, but you think if you put them in a new system with their talent, they were high draft picks, maybe they could work out. There's very specific situations where this works out. And first and foremost, this usually doesn't work out, okay? Usually at the NFL level, you are who you are. If you're a quarterback who kind of looks broken, if you're a quarterback who can't seem to read defenses, make consistent throws, that's kind of who you are. Maybe the NFL level is just a level too high, and that's usually what happens, regardless of what system somebody's in. Sometimes they just can't compete at an NFL level. So I want to say, first of all, reclamation projects usually don't work. But secondly, when they do work, it's mainly down to situation, right? Let's take Ryan Tannehill, for example. Ryan Tannehill is an example of a guy who actually made sense, who actually went to Tennessee with little to no pressure. He was able to sit back and be the backup while Mariota was absolutely shat on by national media for 8 weeks. And then he came in just as one of the most dominant running games we've seen in the last decade was really coming to pass. Opened up the play action, and Ryan Tannehill was able to revive his career in Tennessee. That's a perfect situation, right? Let's have a look at the Bears. The Bears, we don't have the pieces around these quarterbacks that would actually make it work and would make it viable for them to revive their careers, all right? The Bears don't have an offensive line worth the damn, especially in the passing game, okay? So we don't have an offensive line to block. We have a culture that's not exactly conducive to great quarterback play. I guess Jay Cutler was competent, but other than Jay Cutler, I've literally never seen a competent Bears quarterback since I've been alive. So, that should tell you something about the culture that we have here when it comes to quarterback play. And we also don't have time for it to work, right? Like Carson Wentz in Indy might work, and it might take some time, but I feel like fans will give Frank Reich that time. He's built up a little bit of clout there. They had a really good season last year. They're a well-built team, really good offensive line, good solid defense. They're an overall football team. They're well-rounded, and the fans aren't really sick of it. Bears fans are sick of it. Like, we're in win now mode, and you're seeing that because we're so aggressive this offseason. Ryan Pace knows we're in win now mode, right? Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, their balls are dangling. They're on the fucking hot seat. They're about to go. So we don't have time to let a reclamation project develop and actually, come into their own in the situation. The pressure is going to be on as soon as they come in to be the starting quarterback, really, and to win games. The situation's not there. The situation the Bears are in right now is not conducive for... It's not conducive to a reclamation project working. And that's why we shouldn't do it. The Bears need to go for big swings this offseason, right? The Bears need to go for a Deshaun Watson. There's a slight crack in the door there. There's a little bit of an opening in Seattle for Russell Wilson. The Bears need to barge in and play with Pete Carroll's emotions and give him an offer they can't refuse, Derek Carr, speak John Gruden's language. Give them an offer they can't refuse. I don't think John Gruden's married to Derek Carr. I don't think John Gruden loves Derek Carr. Make a big swing at him. Even get him, even a Matt Ryan, a guy who would probably be available. The Falcons probably want to move on from him. Matt Ryan's still really good. It's just that, him in Atlanta, like that, I mean, that's been done for years. He needs to move on. Aging quarterback who's still pretty good. Bring him in, right? But not a reclamation project. Not a guy who's looked broken. Not a guy who needs to revitalize his career. That's not what you need, and that's not gonna work either. That's gonna go down. That's going to be a hilarious ball of flames watching Matt Nagy in a season where it's win now. Try to get fucking Sam Darnold to go out there and compete. That's more. I mean, look, it's sports. We've seen crazier things happen. That's probably not gonna work, lads. FYI, that's there's a low success rate there, to be honest, and I don't think that's going to work. If you can't go for the big swings, you can't go for the Watsons, the Wilsons, the Carrs, the Ryans of the world, well then maybe look to the draft. Look, I get it. Ryan Pace and his history of trading up to draft a QB is not exactly great, but I mean, he's had so much misses, like he's bound to get it right at some stage. And if all other options are exhausted and all the kind of quarterbacks that I was just talking about, if all of those really aren't available, and if you're looking at two options, you're looking at a reclamation project or the draft, go to the draft. Because at least with a young QB, we might get it. We might actually strike gold, And also, with at least with a young QB, at least us fans will be a little bit more lenient because we know it's a young QB. If you bring in someone like fucking Marcus Mariota or Sam Darnold, there's gonna be no patience there. It's gonna be win now or bust. I don't think the Bears should go for a reclamation project. I don't think the situation's conducive for I don't think the situation's conducive to the Bears actually being able to revive a guy like Sam Darnold's career, for example. And if all other options are exhausted, I'd rather them look to the draft, as opposed to a reclamation project.